Ravens, 2-year deal, $30 million extension. And he's an old guy who takes a beating. There's always a market for football players who are exceptional. And the media side, and again, a lot of the media is in their 20s and early 30s. They haven't experienced things before. So any fluctuation or change, it's the first time they've seen it. Listen, safeties, for about 10 years, nobody wanted to pay. When I was a kid growing up, it was Troy Polamalu, not growing up, but Ronnie Lott, Kenny Easley. Safeties were big headhunters. And then there was like a time where safeties were like, nobody wanted to pay Earl Thomas. Like, you don't want to pay safety. The Rams, by the way, really value safeties. There are a handful of teams. Baltimore really values safeties. Well, Baltimore and the Rams value it. They're pretty good. Tight ends for years and years were neglected. Not anymore. People are paying tight ends. Guards. Well, you can't draft a guard early. I don't know. Joe Tooney's pretty good. So is Quentin Nelson. Running backs are the last player in the NFL you can hit. High, low, ankles, knees, head. If they're coming through the line and you hit them, it's fair game. They don't last as long, even the big guys. But value, I would argue Saquon Barkley is the Eagles. I love Lamar Jackson, and I think he is the soul of the team. But 1A is Derrick Henry. There's always going to be room for exceptional people in every industry. Kyle Hamilton at Baltimore is going to get paid at safety. Ed Reed at Baltimore, he got paid at safety. The great gets paid. And listen, the newspaper industry has been trending down for 25 years. You know what makes a lot of money? The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Airline industry. Oh, my God. You know what? I fly Delta. They're doing well. I'm on American a lot. Every time I'm on American, they got brand new planes. Now, Boeing, a plane maker's got its issues. Delta, Southwest, I'm on American Airlines planes. They're fresh, they're new. I was on one yesterday. Beautiful, great service, great staff. Okay, so with this Derrick Henry story, take a deep breath. Running backs have value, but signing them to a second massive deal. I mean, we all love Christian McCaffrey. He gets dinged up a lot, right? Like, you know, it's like if for 2 years they wore him out, and now it's like, this is what happens. It happened in Carolina. After 2 big years, it's like pitchers. You have a couple 300 inning years. Well, you're going to get banged up in spring training. It's not going to be great. So Derrick Henry deserves it. He's great. Saquon Barkley got more money. He deserves it. Always, especially with more young quarterbacks than ever in the league. What is the number one ally for a young quarterback? Good O-line and a dependable running game. Even older quarterbacks, Darnold, Geno Smith, much.
Yeah, that was okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I think ultimately what Colin was trying to say, but I think he kind of got lost because I think this take, because they obviously do it live, and I think this, when he just recorded this, when he went live, like it just broke, and so they were like, hey, Derrick Henry was just signed for 2-year $30 million extension, and so he was just kind of like, all right, let's talk about it, and then they leads into commercial, because he was like, take a deep breath, there's always money's always there for exceptional players. I think he was trying to comment because he's this has been his take before that that things come in waves, and that when a couple years ago, when running backs were really upset how they're not making enough money, and there was like rumors about them, like they wanted to try to do something. They even had like their own like little Zoom meeting about it. And now you have running backs getting paid great money, and you have them still going in top as top draft picks. And now here you go, Derrick Henry getting $30 million extension, 2 years, and I think like $25 million of it is guaranteed. And this is obviously great for the Ravens. Derrick Henry's such a workhorse and was such a foundation of that Baltimore Ravens team. And the reality is that when you look at something like this, like there's $30 million a year now, I'm talking about $30 million a year players, and more than that, 33, 35, 40 million, 50 million players that don't do as much as like a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley for their team. Like it's just there's absolutely wide receivers out there who are getting paid, 25, $30 million. I mean, like who led to more wins? Tyreek Hill or Saquon Barkley? Tell me, who? CD Lamb or Derrick Henry? Who ultimately led to more wins? Who ultimately was more crucial for their team's success? Where if those players, where if Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley weren't playing, it's just over. I mean, so we see that. I mean, heck, even the Philadelphia Eagles, the AJ Brown was able to go down, and Devontae was able to go down, Zay Flowers was able to go down. But it's like if Derrick Henry went down or Saquon Barkley went down, that would be devastating. You would feel so much better if you had to go into the Super Bowl and you had to choose between Zay Flowers starting or Derrick Henry starting. One was able to play and one wasn't. AJ Brown or Saquon. I'm pretty confident the way, especially how this last season went for both those teams. Everybody would say, I'd rather if I have to choose, I want Derrick Henry to be there. I have to choose Saquon Barkley. And that's crazy to me. I mean, that's like, I think that's the right answer. I think that's definitely the right answer, but it's just like, it's wild that we can say that, because 2 years ago, or even a year ago, honestly, probably even before just last season, I don't know if a lot of people would have said that, right? It was so all in on the Tyreek Hills, AJ Brown, CD Lambs, Justin Jefferson, and those players are wildly important. No arguing that. And that's why it is always interesting, because I like Colin too, always try to figure out like what's the easiest way we can reduce a take and a conclusion. And it's like, well, the best friend for a young quarterback is an O-line and a run game. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but like, it's also nice to have a defense that doesn't give up 35 points a game. I actually think having a tight end, a great short-handed tight end, is better than a wide receiver. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, well, you kind of need this, you kind of need that. You want a defense that gives you decent field position. Like, you want a good field goal kicker that can put up 3 points, and so you're not constantly on your back foot. It's really, you need everything. You need what's the best friend to a young quarterback? A great offensive coach, right? Like, that's really important too. So, it's always tough, but I make similar statements as Colin, but mine just tends to kind of, jump around a little bit. But I think this is a great move, and I want to talk about this more directly. I assume I'm making this before this was like released by First Things First. I assume they're going to talk about it too. So I'm trying to kind of have like two separate conversations rather than just kind of give all my thoughts out on this. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great move for the Baltimore Ravens. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's an easy move. And the reality is, in the grand scheme of things, like, it's not even that much amount of money. Like, you could legitimately make the argument. I know this will never happen, or I shouldn't say never, but like, it won't happen now. But like, you could make the argument that that Derrick Henry is worth a 2-year, $60 million extension. The only reason why you would be uncomfortable with that slightly is because of his age, and because it's like, at any given moment you can go down, and you do feel that someone like him can go down at this point of his life and career and position more so than a 25-year-old wide receiver, although we know that those guys can go down at any moment as well. But like, you can make the argument that's totally worth it, right? And so the fact that you are getting him for a 2-year, $30 million extension, and again, the $25 million, guaranteed, it's like, again, to me, it's like such a no-brainer, because what are the chances of you moving on from Derrick Henry the following year? That you're just like, we're going to cut him, we don't want him. Like, what the chances of that are pretty much slim to like literally like 0.05% chance. So it's like the guaranteed money, it just ends up being like monopoly money. It's like, you're going to get this money anyway, so sure, here you go. It's really just how much does the owner want to put out in escrow and actually like, give you now. That really just becomes more of like an owner decision than anything else. So I think this also is nice, because this also gives this continues to give the Baltimore Ravens continuity and gives them clarity. And I just think this Ravens team, the more clarity, the more continuity they have, the more likelihood they can finally get over this hump, finally get into the Super Bowl, finally, hopefully for them, of course, win the Super Bowl and, reclaim their spot at the top. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens and Derrick Henry agreeing to a 2-year, $30 million extension? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so that you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.